like to call us back to order, and I'd like to welcome everybody that is here with us tonight. We have been in closed session, so the first thing that we will be doing is our certification statement.
Whereas the Madison County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Therefore, be it resolved that the Madison County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification applies, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
We ready? Okay. So we'll do this this is the motion, if I could have a second to certify this, and then we'll do it by vote.
I think a second.
We have a motion and a second that we certify our closed meeting. So if we could do the voice by.
Yep. Mrs. Collier,
I certify.
Mr. Myers,
I certify.
Mr. Sheets,
I certify.
Mr. Wingate,
I certify.
Mrs. Allen.
I certify. Thank you. The next thing that we'll be doing is the pledge and the moment of silence, and we ask you to please join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. If you would, join us, a moment of silence, please. Thank you. When we were in closed session, there were 2 items that we discussed. One of them was the personnel matters, and the other one was release from compulsory attendance. So the first thing we'll do is take a public vote on our personnel matters. If I could have a motion to approve, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the personnel matters for August the 8th, 2022, to include appointments, transfers, substitute appointments, substitute reappointments, coaching stipends, and sponsor stipends, with the elimination of employee number 5 as presented.
Could I have a second on that motion, please?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the personnel matters that we discussed in closed session for August the 8th, 2022, with the exclusion of number 5. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. So that motion carries. So the next thing we would do is take a motion for number 5, for our personnel number 5, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation for the action on employee number 5.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second that too.
It's been moved and seconded that we take action on employee number 5. So I think it'll be a little bit different, so we'll do it by voice. Can we do this one by voice, please?
Mr. Myers,
Yes. Thank you.
Mr. Sheets,
Yes.
Mr. Wingate. Yes. Mrs. Collier,
I need to abstain.
and Mrs. Allen.
Yes. So it's been moved, seconded that we approve employee number 5's employment with a 4 to 1 abstention, so the motion carries. All right. So the next item on is our consent agenda. If I could have approval of the August 8th, 2022 consent agenda as presented, please. Where did I go? Oh, I skipped that one. Sorry. Ready to go on to the next thing. Thank you. Could I have a motion that we approve the release from compulsory attendance for students number 3, 4, 5, and 6 for 2022-2023 school year, specifically for religious exemption as presented?
I'll make a motion to release students 3, 4, 5, and 6 for this year.
Could I have a second, please?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the release from compulsory attendance for students 3, 4, 5, and 6 for 2022-2023 for religious exemption. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Now we have the approval of the consent agenda. Could I have a motion that we approve the consent agenda for August the 8th, 2022 as presented?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the August 8th, 2022 consent agenda as presented.
Could I have a second? Been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda for August the 8th, 2022. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. The next thing on our agenda is an instructional report that Dr. Jones will be providing for us tonight, which is the instructional update to include a summary of textbook adoption cycle and a board presentation. Dr. Jones?
Hey, good evening. So this evening, I'm going to give you an update on what happened over the summer with summer school and our new teacher orientation days, which were last Thursday and Friday. All right, so as far as our new teachers, they came in last Thursday and Friday. What a amazing group of individuals. It was a pleasure to get to know them. You can see the numbers that we had, a total of 29 new teachers, and we worked with them. And my next slide will tell you a little bit about the things that we did during those 2 days. They met a lot of the familiar faces around Madison County Public Schools, those people that they'll be interacting with regularly. Each new teacher, new staff member was assigned a mentor, someone who's already here and working and is in their area and can support them throughout the year. They were trained in our ALICE lockdown procedure, and so that was really important. They got a lot of general information about benefits, technology, classroom management tips, a lot of hands-on activities, and just getting to know each other. We did have a wonderful lunch at Graves Mountain, and we had a teacher panel, a current teacher panel, come in and answered practical questions for those individuals. And I think it was just 2 days that were well spent. And like I said, I'm really hopeful, and I think we're going to have a great year with our new teachers. Just to give you an update on our current openings, you're hearing a lot in the news about, so many openings. We're doing pretty well here. We do need reading specialists at Waverly and the primary school. We are still looking for special education teacher for each at Waverly and the high school. We need an English teacher at the high school, a math teacher, and a science teacher still at Wetzel. We're still looking for an elementary school counselor. Each elementary school has a full-time counselor, but we had added a counselor that goes between the two elementary schools, and we would still like to fill that. We're okay, but we would like to have that extra support if we can find someone. We have posted for an additional school nurse. We are always looking for substitutes in all areas. Bus drivers are always welcome. We have posted a public information officer to help us get out the great news about things that we are doing here in Madison County and some other important things. And then various athletic coaching opportunities come up all throughout the year. And so you can always follow our website. I've put the link on there. And so if anybody knows any great teachers, please send them our way. We'd love to speak with them. All right, so I'll tell you a little bit about our summer school and the number of students we had and the things that they participated in. You can go ahead to the next slide. 2022 Mad Explorers, K through 8, our summer learning program, our teachers really used hands-on, interactive, cross-curricular teaching with themes and project-based learning. We extended this summer into more field trips than we've had in previous summers. Teachers had an opportunity to choose topics of interest to students. Our goal was to have just high engagement, high student engagement, make kids want to be there, really active, and then sneak in all the learning that they need while they're having so much fun. And so our numbers were up from previous summers. You can see we had a total of 153 students. And middle school, honestly, in previous summers have been 10 or fewer students in each grade level. So tickled to death to have more students that attended last summer. And then we talked about summer learning trips, so just to give you an idea of some of the trips that they did take. Students went to Greenscapes, Highlands, the market at Grayland, Seaquest. One of our teachers had an ocean theme, and the students got to go to Seaquest in Lynchburg. They went to Skyline Caverns, the Richmond Zoo, the Madison Library, who are fabulous partners for us, and then a group went to the Stephen F. Udvar Hazy Center as well, which is a great place to go. So summer was fun. If you had a chance to visit, you just felt the energy. It was fun to see what was going on over the course of the summer. So that just gives you an update on those two areas, and that's all I have for tonight.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
When you listed the number of students from each grade level, was that the grade level they just finished or the one that they were going into?
The one they had finished.
Just finished. And the other,
Good question.
what is Seaquest? Is it a museum?
You know, I hadn't heard of Seaquest either. Has anybody been there and wants to describe it better than me? It's in Lynchburg, and it's kind of like an aquarium type place where the kids get to have hands-on. They get to touch some of the little sea critters and things. Yeah, it's like
Thank
an
you.
aquarium, maybe a little smaller than some of the big ones.
Thank you. Anybody else with any questions? Thank you, Dr. Jones. The next thing on our,
I just wanted to say, I said this in our little closed session, but I just want to commend Dr. Jones and Ms. Graham for the, you read all about this teacher shortages all over the place, and we're in much better shape than a lot of places. That's a lot of hard work, so good work. And also make a plug to the public. If you know good people who want to fill those spots, then please tell, because I think that's the best way to is get people who we know and trust, and it's a great way to fill those things. So thank you all for your hard work.
thank you. No. The next section on our agenda is for public comment. As you come forward to speak to us, if you would, please approach the podium. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and also where you live in the county. And I would just ask all of you to please, as you express yourselves, be sure that you take into consideration that we want everybody to feel welcome and we want everybody to feel regarded and respected in our meetings. So if you would, please take that into consideration. Thank you. And would somebody or anybody or a lot of you like to come up and make a public comment, please?
Hello, my name is Matthew Hooser from Radiant, Virginia. In doing research for the topic I wanted to talk about tonight, I actually came across some other things that kind of concern me that I wanted to address the board. And these are all positive things I think we could bring to the school, programs that the school doesn't have currently at the moment. But I'd like to at least bring it to the school board to see if we can get some of these programs going in the school, because I think they're the type of programs that give, one, children in this community opportunities after school, and 2, programs that will create leaders not only for our community but our country. The first one was I was going to come up and ask and talk about why is it we don't have an ROTC program, a junior ROTC program in the high school. That's a very good program that's been implemented in schools around here. I think Culpeper has one, Orange has one. I think students in this community could benefit from that, especially if you come from a low-income family like I did growing up, and you don't have a lot of opportunities outside school. Maybe you're an average, grade maker. The military definitely gave me a lot of focus and drive in my life, and it pushed me to do a lot better things. So it motivated me to go back to college after I got out. I used the GI Bill to go back and get a bachelor's degree. And I know that it's helped a lot of other kids throughout the life to get out of maybe not so great home situations or financial situations where their family's struggling, where they can go and send money back. So that's my one point was. In doing research for that, I also found out that Madison County doesn't have an FFA program. Is that correct? This county doesn't have an agricultural program for its youth? Am I the only one that seems to think that's a problem? As rural a county as this is, we don't have an agricultural program? I know you guys can't answer, but I'm going to say that I think that everybody I asked that question to today has been flabbergasted by the answer that I've given them. So that's number two. I have a third one. I can't remember what's at, so I'll buy my time. In doing the research for the ROTC program, I used to do this thing for one of my old works where I was an engineer. Everybody hates Mondays. I always complain about Mondays, always really bad, right? But what I used to do, we used to call it Medal of Honor Mondays. And so I would look up a story for somebody who received a Medal of Honor on that date, right? So today is August 8th. I have a story of Captain Florent Graberg. I'd like to share that with the board. And I'd like for you to read through this and to understand what it is to be an American. I'll just kind of briefly highlight it. Captain Graberg received his Medal of Honor for actions on the 8th of August in 2012 in Kandahar, or in Kunar province, Afghanistan, for saving the lives of a bunch of men in his unit. Captain Graberg was not a natural-born citizen to this country. He came here when he was a young man. He learned English at the late age of 11, and his quote, and I will quote you, "The proudest thing I have ever done in my life is to wear this uniform and serve my country." I'll leave that there for anybody who wants to come get it.
Thank you, Mr. Hooser.
Lisa Davis, Locust Dale. I recently sent some information to you all establishing a junior ROTC program here at Madison. I suggested to the board to solicit via survey or whatever to the students and parents to see about this. Now, junior ROTC program is the ability to teach cadets leadership, geography, civics, health, global awareness, life skills, and U.S. history. With this focus on leadership, core values, ability, and self-discipline, cadets are better positioned to function in life itself, whether they go into the military or not. And let's be clear that just because you go into the junior ROTC program doesn't mean that you have to go into the military. Now, the Army did some research, and let me give you two examples. Here's two high schools in Chicago. One is in Chicago. They graduated 96% of its cadets compared to 81% of the senior class overall. Now, a high school in Detroit graduated 92.8% of its junior ROTC cadets compared to 65.5% of the senior class overall. Another big benefit of junior ROTC is the financial aid these programs offer. They can take full advantage of various scholarships to cover the entire cost of college. Again, you do not have to go into the military if you're in the junior ROTC program. And junior cadets can start earning school-specific scholarships as early as in 9th grade. Now, this is the most important things that I think about establishing one here. First, better learning. Junior ROTC curriculums take students beyond normal classroom learning. It builds the discipline, confidence, and belief that they can do whatever they set their minds to. The results can be traumatic. Better grades. How does junior ROTC impact the students in other classes? By developing self-motivation and ability to focus and a desire to excel. This all adds up to better grades, better graduation rates, as I just talked about, better school community. Difference is an asset in junior ROTC classes. Students on the different learning tracks, as well as students from different ethnic and cultural backgrounds, work together to learn and grow. Better involvement, extracurricular activities with these cadets present a unique mixture of challenges and accomplishments which go far beyond normal school activities. Now, just don't look at cost at this point. Don't put the cart before the horse, or the horse before the cart, excuse me. We've got, as he just stated, 2 ROTC programs at 2 different schools. One's Marine and Culpeper, one's Army and Orange. Let's research those. Let's query the students and the parents first, then take the next step. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Davis.
I'm Jean Busbozo. I'm from Locustale, Virginia. Can you hear me?
No, ma'am, they can't hear you in the back.
Well,
Grab it and pull it down. Pull it right down to you.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Can you hear
ma'am.
me? Okay, I'm Jean Busbozo. I'm from Locustale also. It seems to me, if my memory is correct, a couple months ago, you talked about these policies, and you talked about taking them as a group. Oh, no, as a whole, not as a group. I would ask that you do them individually. I also have concerns if these policies all come from one individual. I would like for them to be a collaborative effect. The reason I want you to take them individually is that some you may agree with all of them, you may disagree with all of them. But what happens if you agree with some and not others? How do you vote? I wouldn't know how to vote. If I saw one I liked and one I didn't, what do I do? So I would ask that you consider them individually and also tell us why you want the change. I think that's important for us to know that. Now, my second concern is the focus seems to be so much on parents rather than on teachers, and I am very concerned about that. Not all parents are loving and involved. If they were, we would not have foster care. I don't know if you know how many students we have in Madison County that are in foster care. But not all parents are involved and love their children. So where do they go? Maybe they go to the teachers, and that's where my concern is. I'm afraid that you are, in some of your policies and some of your statements, that you are tying the teacher's hands. If a child comes to a teacher and has a problem, I feel that that teacher should be free to help that student as much as he can possibly can. And I am concerned about the lack of support that you are giving teachers. I really am. I would like to read you an article, a small article that appeared in the Post. It concerns the fact of why now you are losing teachers. I saw that you have slots that are not filled. Why are American schools so short-staffed? Experts point to a confluence of factors including pandemic-induced teacher exhaustion, low pay, and some education centers, the politicians and parents, and sometimes our own school board members have little respect for their profession amid an escalating educational culture that has been seen many districts and states pass policies and laws restricting what teachers can say about U.S. history, race, racism, gender, and sexual orientation, as well as LGBT, quote, issues. So I assume that you please give your teachers a free hand and back them up. Please support them.
Thank you, Ms. Babusco.
I am Mike Sharman from the Novum area of Madison, and I've handed up a number of quotes that I think might help you as y'all generally think about policy, and then attached behind it are some excerpts from the transcripts from the June 13th vote, and then some excerpts from the emails that we had received in pursuit of our, as part of our FOIA request, and I appreciate receiving that. I'll let you all look those parts over. That's kind of the low road. The high road, though, I want to just give you some quotes from history. Alexis de Tocqueville was a Frenchman. He had a 2-volume treatise, Democracy in America, which has been so influential in American thought that is quoted in 7 United States Supreme Court opinions, 9,496 published court cases all throughout the United States, and more than 180,000 times in scholarly journals. He said, "I sought for the greatness and genius of America in her commodious harbors and her ample rivers, and it was not there. In her fertile fields and boundless forests, and it was not there. In her rich mines and her vast world commerce, it was not there. In her democratic Congress and her matchless Constitution, and it was not there. Not until I went into the churches of America and heard her pulpits flame with righteousness did I understand the secret of her genius and power. America is great because America is good. And if America ever ceases to be good, America will cease to be great. For y'all, it means when you tell the truth, you're doing what's right, you're going to be good. When you even have self-deceit, you're not." Booker T. Washington, who was a Virginian, he was born a slave. Ma'am, he didn't even get foster care. He didn't remember anything basically until he was 6, never saw his mom. And then he became the founder of Tuskegee Institute. And the reason I mentioned that about foster care, I mean, he had 0. And then he rose to the highest levels, really, of America. He said, "Every persecuted individual and race should get much consolation out of the great human law, which is universal and eternal, that merit, no matter under what skin is found, in the long run, recognized and rewarded. This I have said here not to call attention to myself as an individual, but to the race to which I am proud to belong." And then G.K. Chesterton, he was British, but he did a tour here like Robert Louis Stevenson did later and wrote a travelogue. The book was What I Saw in America. And he said, "The Americans are very patriotic and wish to make their new citizens patriotic Americans. But it's the idea of making a new nation literally out of any old nation that comes along. In a word, what is unique is not America, but what is called Americanization." And then Martin Luther King Jr., 60 years ago this month, said, "Even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It's a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sharman. Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
This thing is pretty intimidating. I want to thank all of y'all for all the hard work you're doing, especially keeping in mind for our students.
Ms. Gore,
I'm Becky Gore. And
Bring the mic
I'm from
closer.
Rochelle.
Bring the mic closer.
Bring it a little closer?
Thank
Yes,
you.
please.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Okay, I'm here to advocate for the maximum number of days that 4-H'ers can be allowed to have due to their activities that they will have in their 4-H activities. And I know that they're going to miss some instructional time. I do understand, too, that they would have the responsibility of making up all that work, but I would...
Ms.
very
Gore,
much-
could you move a little closer to the mic, please?
I would also like for them to be considered to be allowed to have the maximum amount that y'all would consider for them to miss class time. And I don't speak just by watching them, I speak from experience. I am a lifetime 4-H'er. I grew up in the Madison County 4-H program. I've been a 4-H leader. I am presently a 4-H All-Star, and 4-H All-Stars, of course, have their motto as service. and I know this is what our youth here in our community would do, the same thing. I've always given 4-H the credit for my success as a teacher because I began to learn how to teach in the 4th grade. 4-H is a year-long commitment. It's just synonymous to me as a youngster in VHSL athletics that might be a 3 or 4 season athlete. They're going to put in as much time, if not more time, by their work in the program. 4-H is an extraordinary extracurricular activity, becomes a lifelong learning experience. Your SOL standards of learning are becoming streamlined, most probably, I know given a different acronym, but back in the day when I was teaching, I was able to put SOLs right in force with my 4-H Anglers program that I had at Orange County High School. Mr. Sheeds has often emphasized the need for the board to utilize Robert's Rules of Order in their meetings. Well, 65 years ago when I was in the 4th grade, we learned Robert's Rules of Order through 4-H program. Mr. Wingate emphasizes your love of your country. Nothing does it any better than the 4-H program, other than possibly something that's very similar in that being the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts program. The 4-H program is one that students choose, and their parents are also right there with them. So we got a family-oriented program. So I ask you to please allow these students to have maximum amount of release time that you feel viable. So
Thank you, Ms. Gore.
It's amazing I can actually speak. I say stuff, right? Who would have thought? I done. Here we go. I hope. Thank you. I hope somebody else is going to come.
I wasn't going to come, but then he fixed the mic. Now I feel obligated. My name is Dale Freeman. I'm the pastor of Fellowship Baptist Church. And I just wanted to come up and say that I'm appreciative of the school board. We pray for the school board at the church. I pray for you personally. And I'm thankful that I live in a county, I'm thankful to live in America where we can do this. And I hope that we would never forget the privileges that we have in our country, just to be able to come out and do what I'm doing right now, saying what I want to say before a group of people, doing what you're doing. I realize the responsibility that you have is vast. You've been tasked with a great responsibility. And I would just pray that you would realize the responsibility that you have, and I believe you do. There's a verse of Scripture that came to my mind. It's found in the book of Proverbs. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all of thine heart, and lean not into thine own understanding. In all of thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths." What you're doing, there's just so many lives in your hands. I do it too, as a pastor and a teacher. I understand. And sometimes there's hard decisions to make, and we just want to come down on the right side of what would be best for the students. And I believe you do too. And so I want you to know we're for you. We're here. We would help you in any way that we could. We pray for you. I believe that's the greatest thing we could do. I'm glad to see the vision of the long-range plan. I think it's great to have vision for a school, for students, for a county. I'm glad to see a partnership, families and community. That's what we are. And we want to enhance that in every way that we can. We're not always all going to agree on everything. I think it shows great character when we can disagree and still get along. I think it shows low character when we disagree and feel that we have to fight and bicker over our disagreements. This is America. We're free to disagree. But I do pray, it is our prayer, that each one of you would seek the wisdom of the Lord and realize that we pray for you and we stand behind you. Just wanted you to know that. God bless you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? I just want to say, from all of us, how much we appreciate people coming up and giving us their opinion, because it takes all of us, and every one of you out there has a different opinion of how we can do the best that we can every day for children, and we do appreciate you coming up and speaking so that we hear your voice too. So thank you. All right. So the next thing is business information that's on our agenda, and I know that we presented the long-range plan draft at the last board meeting. At this board meeting, and, well, not at this one, but we have in the interim, because we all met last Monday, some proposed changes have been made. So we present it to you again as it is in revised form. We'll not vote on this tonight, but we will, as it is presented, we'll take public comment on it, and we will hopefully vote on it next time. And we anticipate that in September, and we hope that you will come and, again, comment on the revisions that you might be seeing for the first time tonight. I don't know whether you want me to go over the differences, or I guess we should at least note them. Would you like to do that, please?
The first revision was in priority 2 to strike the phrase regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, language, ability, family background, or family income. And then I think there was only one other. On priority 7, to add Madison County Public Schools will form the Parent Engagement Committee to help support the goals for priority 7. Parents, guardians from all schools shall be represented on this committee. That was added because that was the only priority that did not already have a standing committee. So those were the changes. It'll be advertised, a public hearing for the long-range plan for the September meeting, and then you can either vote September or October.
Thank you. Board, do you have any comments to make, or you ready to move forward? All right. So the next item under business approval is, as some of you know or may know, last month we were given a lot of policies to take a look at, and all of us have had an opportunity for the last month to go through each and every policy. And a couple of revisions or suggestions or additions were proposed last Monday. The first one was to policy ICID, which has to do with the school year, school day. And basically, some things were struck from the policy. Can we put it up, so please?
Mr. Pate, could you put the policy on the screen?
So if you look at it, what you can see is you have areas that have been struck from the policy, and then there have been some additions that have been made in green. But the one that,
At the very end of the policy was the phrase that the school board added last Monday night.
last Monday, it was proposed by a member of the board that we take a look at this and make a statement from the board about recess. And as it now reads, it reads, Madison County Public Schools recognize the value of recess as a time for offering cognitive, social, emotional, and physical benefits. Therefore, when appropriate, school administrators, teachers, and staff members shall not withhold recess from a student. So that is the sentence that has been proposed. And I guess right now from anyone, does anybody have any comment to make about this? And are we ready to vote on this? Because it was announced and it was said on Monday. So are we ready to move forward on this one?
And that's,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that same phrase was, the exact same phrase was added to the IGAE and IGAF.
Well, I missed Monday's meeting with the passing of my father, so just a clarification for me is the last line where it's, I can't read that from here, so I don't know what it's.
You want me to read it
Yeah, the
again?
last,
Madison County Public Schools recognize the value of recess as a time for offering cognitive, social, emotional, and physical benefits. Therefore, when appropriate, school administrators, teachers, and staff members shall not withhold recess from a student.
so what does when appropriate mean?
I
It
can
seems
answer.
ambiguous enough that putting it in there means absolutely nothing.
So, yeah, I think this was something Ms. Collier brought to our attention.
So I did bring it to the board. I had some parents, families that reach out that students were receiving discipline by removing recess from the lack of forms being turned in by parents, the lack of that kind of thing, and that's not a student's fault.
Right.
That is a parent's fault, and we should not pull recess from kids because a parent doesn't comply. Is really where the story came, where the information came from. And I did some research, and kids need to move, especially in elementary grades. And the kids that need to move sometimes get recess taken away more because they need to move, and they're the ones that need to move. And so that's what I brought last Monday night was we really need to not discipline kids and not discipline kids in form of recess. Like, don't take the recess away when it's not their fault. And then the when appropriate, I think, is a scenario where we agreed, if kids, I hate to use this example, but if somebody goes and if I go and pop you, Damon, during recess, the teacher needs to be able to set me down and say, you're not allowed to hit Damon Myers, that kind of thing. So that's where the when appropriate came from.
Okay.
Did I explain that right, board members that were here Monday night?
Well, I mean, because I have some rambunctious kids that live in my house, and sometimes that's the only thing that you have as a form of discipline within the school is to remove recess. And so sometimes we ask teachers to take it away, and most of the time they only agree to like maybe 5 or 10 minutes of the recess time. I was just asking for clarification because when it says when appropriate, that could mean whatever whoever's reading it wants it to mean.
I mean, yeah, it gives the teacher and the administrator the autonomy to do what's necessary for that moment.
So I guess the question is, are we ready to vote on this now with the wording as it stands? Or do we think perhaps more discussion needs to take place? If that is the case, we could table it and vote on it next month after we've had an opportunity.
Well, I don't know how specific it needs to be. Because like I say, when appropriate, that's very subjective, and that might as well say you can take it away for as much as you want when appropriate. It means the same thing.
I guess I would support it like it is, just because I think it sends a message that we think recess is important to the teachers, and to be thoughtful about the importance of it, but it also leaves it open for a situation when a parent said, hey, this is a good use of discipline, or Damon gets popped in the nose, So I guess it kind of leaves it provides a spirit of, yeah, we want to be careful about using recess, but it's open enough to give people some flexibility. So I think it's as good as, I think it's an intent, and I think it's as good as you're going to get, I think, unless someone's got a better idea to phrase it a different way.
I guess the question
All
is.
right, after hearing Chris's explanation, I will 100% agree with that.
All right, then. If we are ready to vote for approval of the revised, I need to look and see which number it is, of the revised policy ICID, I would like a motion to approve that as rewritten or added to.
I'll make a motion to approve policy ICID and IGAE, IGAF as presented.
Could I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we approve I haven't written the whole thing down, ICID, and what were the other ones?
IGAE and IGAF.
Okay. Of all of those, been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. All right. There is another one that we talked about on Monday, and that is student absences and excuses and dismissals. And it stands as we had seen it last month, but one of the things that did change in this policy is that you'd have to go, where is it in here? Yes, it's in the green part, it says, parents of students who are absent must inform the school board of the reason for the absence no later than upon the student's return to school. Absences are excused for the following reasons. And it goes into those points. In the second point, it says a maximum of X school days. We suggested 25, and this is coming from brand-new legislation that they ask, that the state is asking the localities to give them a specific number of days that would be excused for participation in 4-H education program or activity. And then it gives the conditions under which that would happen. And on Monday, when we talked about this, we just kind of left it open, but we plugged the number 25 in there, which sounds like a lot of days, but as I understand, and it's given us an opportunity, we just talked about it on Monday, but it has given us an opportunity to talk to other people that are involved with 4-H, and we left it on Monday night of 25 being a placeholder, that would just be the number that would hold the place until we had an opportunity to talk to people and to find out when we have students that participate on a local level, regional level, and state level in 4-H competitions. We want to make sure that they have the time that they need to be able to do this without being penalized in any way. But again, it would depend on localities. So right now, we left it at 25.
So Ms. Allen, may I say something real quick?
Of course.
I reached out to Kelly Mallory, who is our local extension agent, and I also reached out to Catherine Carter, who is our state youth representative that works at Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech oversees the 4-H and extension services. And we added up all of the competitions that are available during the 10 months that the school year is in. And if every student, if a 4-H student attended every competition, it would be 15 absences. So I'm okay with putting 15 there, with the exception that if a Madison County student were to make the state livestock judging team, then that's a completely different conversation, because they're going to be traveling all over the place and missing a lot of time. So, but in a sort of a normal situation, you have to try out, make that team, and get on that team. Currently, we do not have anybody on that team, but it doesn't mean that we won't. So I think it's safe to say that 15 days is enough, knowing that we are willing to work with someone that made that team and work with that family.
Thank you for finding out from Ms. Mallory a little bit about this. I will say one thing. I think our 4-H students benefit greatly from participating in any of these programs, and so we want to make it possible for them to feel welcome to take the time, because they are very responsible students and their parents are very responsible as well. So the question right now is, do we want to modify it right now and vote on it and change it to 15 days, or do we want to leave it open at 25, knowing that I don't foresee any chance that our 4-H parents would abuse this? I mean, they're not going to pull their kids out of school to do something that they haven't earned. So,
Somebody look, I'm not sure if it's allowed or not, but could I ask Mrs. Gore, I mean, what, as an expert, I mean, is 15, do you know, I mean, do you know, is that 15, is that enough, do you think, based on your comments? Thank you. I mean, I'd defer to Nita. I mean, she's the 4-H expert.
Well, I'm just the livestock and public speaking. That's where I competed. I mean, I'm fine with 15. I'm comfortable with 15. But if we want to give a little bit, 20 is okay too. I mean, it's, we have to come together as a board. But again, I mean, we counted, we did. We sat and we counted all the competitions, and that's every child doing everything during those 10 months. And not every child does everything, That means the child would show every species. So, cattle, goat, sheep, and pig, and participate in public speaking. So, when you get to the state level, it's really hard, right? In this day and time to show 4 animals and compete in public speaking. It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work to raise animals. So, I'm comfortable with 15, but we can give a little bit of wiggle room if we want to.
Before we vote, what's your pleasure, board? I'm hearing 15 and 25 was put in there as a placeholder.
Well, I wanted to ask real quick, because Nita had mentioned something about the judging part of it. And the judging part of it really comes down to part, like FFA stuff. So when Mr. Hooser mentioned something about FFA, I think that had to do with, we didn't have an ag teacher at the time, but we have one now, and maybe Mrs. Graham can elaborate on that.
Well, you actually answered that correctly. We were without an ag teacher for the second half of the school year, but the person we have hired is very excited about bringing back our FFA program and has already begun the process of looking into getting officers on board and actually already planning a field trip for FFA.
So with that being said, I would err on the side of more days so that we don't have to revisit this again, and then they'll just, if they need to go to a competition, they get to go to a competition.
Well, it is, I mean, that's just a maximum number of days, but they still have to, it's not like you just get to take off because you were in 4-H.
Right.
You have to prove where you were going.
You have to prove where you were going. You have to be a good student. You have to have it's called a YQCA certification. You can't just go show animals.
Right.
You have to have a youth quality assurance certification that you're going to take care of these animals the right way. It's not just you take the day off and go play with a pig. It's not what, this is not what that's about. This is you have to be a good standing in your 4-H, group, your team, and you have to have good grades. You have to do the right thing all the time.
But I mean, if you have extra days that are available, it's not like it can easily be abused.
Right.
So having 25, I mean, I don't see the problem with it.
So we suggested 25, or put that in again as a placeholder on Monday, if we believe that 25 is a good number to start with, and we can keep track of that if it needs to be changed. But I kind of agree that it gives us flexibility. We won't have to go back, hopefully, and look at it again in the future and change it. So if we leave it at 25, or whatever you guys decide you want to, could I have a motion to approve this with whatever number I hear?
Of course, I'm going to make this motion. I live and breathe 4-H. So I would like to make a motion to approve policy JED, student absences, excuses, and dismissals, as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the student absent, excuse, dismissal policy as it has to do with 4-H students at 25 possible days. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, the next thing that we have is a policy adoption, BFC, which is the purpose of this, as we have mentioned before, on and off, most of us were trained in Robert's Rules of Order as far as conducting a meeting, parliamentary procedure, somewhere along the line in our education. We've picked up bits and pieces of it. Some of us have studied it. Some of us have used it on many occasions. But we never, as a board, have adopted Robert's Rules as being part of our usage in the current version as our board's rules of order. And we did talk about that at one of our members' suggestion. And so in doing this, what we would be doing is adopting Robert's Rules of Order, the current version, so that we'll not have to change it later on. Right now, I think it's version 14?
12, I think.
12? Okay. Version 12, but we don't want to have to come and update it as it gets updated, so we'll just use the current version. So could I have a motion to formally adopt Robert's Rules of Order, the current version, as our board rules of order?
I make a motion to adopt the current version of Robert's Rules of Order.
Could I have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries. All right. So the next thing are those. Last month, we were presented with quite a number of policies, which all of us have had an opportunity to go through and look at and read carefully, make suggestions, and that's where the ones that Nita had brought to our attention, Ms. Collier, had brought to our attention came from. So we've had an opportunity to look at these, and unless there's any further discussion, and we had the opportunity on Monday to discuss them as well, what we can do is go ahead and approve all these policies. Do I need to read them out separately, or? No? All right. Since we've all had a chance to look at them before, they were presented at last month's meeting, I will entertain a motion to approve the policy updates as presented.
And just for, one note, the changes in here are almost all just one or two words. I mean, generally, and it comes from the state. So that's what the changes are, just a couple of words usually from almost all these policies.
And/or updating a Virginia code number.
So I make a motion to approve the policy that's presented.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the policy updates as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. Motion carries. And the last item under business approval, it was presented to us a request from the CBM Ministries to provide release time religious education classes, as they have been doing for a number of years for the Madison County Public School students. And we had an opportunity to review their request. The request was made by Ms. Diane Wagner, and she would like to continue with her students in the elementary school and primary school for the 22-23 school year. Just to provide a little background for you, they will be, classes will be once a month, I think it is, once a month. And it does give our students an opportunity to be with their peers and to have some religious classes. So, could I have a motion to approve release time for religious education?
I'll make a motion to approve release time for CBM.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the release time for religious education provided by CBM Ministry. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, we have reached the point of our agenda where school board members have an opportunity to tell us what they did, and there's been a lot of things going on for the last, week, 2 weeks. Lots of things going on in the school system, and I will say all of them positive. So now is our chance to let you all know what we have done as board members. Ms. Collier, would you like to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. I attended this past Saturday, just 2 days ago. Gosh, it seems longer. The unveiling of the Billy Mitchell baseball field sign. The school board approved that back in the fall, and the sign was set in place. It's beautiful. The community organized a couple of speeches, and they told wonderful stories about Mr. Mitchell. He wasn't my coach, but he was my principal when I was at the primary school, and I was the school board sort of sponsor to help the community member that sort of got this going. So that was Saturday. It was bittersweet. There was wonderful stories, and it was a great community time. And then I attended today the luncheon that we invited all of our teachers, not just new teachers, everyone came. Teachers, bus drivers, everybody, all employees were there for fellowship and time to get together and celebrate the new school year. And everybody had positive things to say, and they're just so excited to welcome everybody's kids in the next few days. So I heard great stories there too. So it was just positive energy. So that's all I have.
Mr. Sheets?
The only thing I sat through recently was the CIP meeting. Mr. Timmons, is he the new building superintendent, sort of? He's doing some assessments on buildings. He's finding some stuff that's going to cost us some money. But we have to maintain our buildings. So there are some options that we're putting out there to hopefully save some money. But regardless, we got with some stuff happening there. But it's good to have someone on board that's actually proactively looking around at stuff to find out, what we have to fix in the long run. Looking for a company to help do some assessments. That'll be real interesting. So, but that's all I had.
Thank you. Mr. Wingate?
I want to thank Mr. Myers for taking my spot on the CIP thing, so I did not sit through that. So thank you. I do want to just real quick respond to a couple of comments, just because I think it's nice to respond to people who come out here and take the time to do it, and good comments. For the junior ROTC thing, I think I agree. It's a thing we can look at. I think maybe it's a survey or something. I mean, there is an expense, but as you said, and that doesn't necessarily be a showstopper. I think we can be creative. I mean, if there's interest, I mean, maybe there's a shared thing where where students could go to Orange, as an Army ROTC, or Culpeper. So I think it would be worthwhile thinking about how much interest there is. I mean, if there is significant interest, then it's a great citizenship, American citizenship, and kind of leadership development thing, which kind of fits in with the CTE type thing also. So I think it's worth thinking about, and probably the first step, I think, is probably figuring out how much interest there is and think about. And then the second thing, ma'am, your comment about policies. Our policies we do consider them individually. They're not a group policy. So, the ones that we develop, the ones here, the ones that we just approved, a whole bunch of them kind of come from the state. But the ones that we develop are looked at, assessed, and voted on individually. So it's not a group thing. And then collaboration. Everybody has a chance to collaborate on all the policies. No policy gets voted on without everyone getting a chance to collaborate on them. So it's never one person doing it all by themselves. It's people have a chance to collaborate. And then last thing to say thank you about is thank you to all the people who have taken a look and taken a part in the long-range plan. It's been a lot of work, and it's a lot of fingers in the pie. And so thanks to everybody. I think there's a lot of good things in there. There are things that the American citizenship thing. I'm looking forward to a report on kind of how we move forward with that. The increasing academic performance. Promoting teacher excellence with pay and other things, promoting parental rights, I always talk about, and the respect, focus on respect. It's all good. I think it's all good things that we can kind of build on. So thank you for everybody who's been working on that. And I want to also thank Mrs. Wagner for bringing the CBM thing to the county. She's been doing it it's a real labor of love, and so I want to thank her and all the teachers who take part in that. And thank you for CBM for the kids in Madison County. Thank you.
Mr. Myers?
Well, as the newest member of the CIP committee, my first order of business was to miss the first meeting. My father passed away 2 weeks ago, and last week, I have 2 foster children that live with me, who have been living with me for almost 3 years, who we adopted. So I was unable to attend that meeting. And I would like to echo Mr. Wingate as far as the dedication that Diane Wagner has had to CBM. She took over CBM when I was at the primary school. So, she's been doing this a really, really long time. she's famous. So I just wanted to thank her for her willingness to serve Madison County in that way.
And I'd like to echo what you said as well. I've worked with Diane for a very long time, and she could not, both of them, they could not be better people, and we're truly fortunate to have people in our community that are willing to do this now and have been doing it for many, many years. So we're very grateful that they're doing that as well. The other thing that I have done is I attended a new teacher luncheon last Friday, and it was wonderful to be in the room with so much enthusiasm. We have a wonderful group of young teachers coming on board. We have some experienced teachers. We have some career changers. And so we have a lot of new people coming on board to add to our already excited group of teachers. I did also attend Mr. Mitchell's, the dedication of the field to him. Mr. Mitchell is in his 90s somewhere, and I know a lot of you either know him personally or maybe had him even as a principal, perhaps. But a lot of the people that came gave testimonials as to the fact that one person can change a person's life. And for a lot of people, Mr. Mitchell was that man. And the furthest someone came to pay the respects to him was from Texas. So someone came from Texas to be able to say to a 90-some-year-old former educator what a difference he made in their life. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I wish all of you could have come, but it truly was very memorable. And today I went to the luncheon for all of the teachers. And again, it was quite a fun day to be around so many enthusiastic people. I enjoyed it very much, and I think they enjoyed meeting everyone, and it was everyone from custodians to cafeteria to buses, and it was wonderful to see them all together because they are what makes the Madison County Public Schools, not just the teachers, every one of them. So those are the things that I have done, and I look forward to a lot more things. I think that our students come next Tuesday, not tomorrow, or we'd all be in a big panic, but next Tuesday. And so they'll be here to add to the excitement of this school year. So I'm very excited for everybody. And Superintendent Graham, did you have comments?
Yes. So first of all, piggybacking off of both of you talking about the Mr. Mitchell field dedication, I was telling the staff this morning at the convocation picnic that he calculated how many students he had interacted with over the course of his 60-plus year career, and he came up with the number 12,000. So Chairperson Allen, when you said he impacted so many lives, I mean, just think of that. That's 12,000. That's a large number, so that's what we talked about this morning. I do want to remind everyone and invite everyone to come to the Back to School Carnival that's being sponsored by Madison Strong and the Madison County Public Schools. That's on Saturday from 9 to 11. This year, we're uniting everyone with a T-shirt that says Madison Strong, has a beautiful picture of our mountains. Every student and every staff member will have that T-shirt, so it's something when kids are in a grocery store and whatnot, and they see a staff member that they don't know, they could be like, oh, look, I have that shirt too. Students are also all going to get water bottles, and then every student will get a little backpack filled with school supplies. And this is everyone, so kids that are unable to make it to the event on Saturday, they'll have all those things delivered to their classroom, and that's for grades pre-K through 12, so everyone means everyone. Also, the biggest announcement today from Convocation, I noticed that both of you held back from saying that, is that for this upcoming school year, our schools are all fully accredited. We received the word. It's not official. We'll be going over all that information with you when it is made official in probably, Dr. Jones, September. But yes, unofficially, we are fully accredited school division. So that is wonderful news and just shows all the hard work from our staff.